the summer I lost everything and found myself. Have you ever made a choice that changed everything? A moment where you surrendered control, only to discover a truth about yourself you never knew existed. I'm about to tell you about the summer I turned 18. The summer I was sent away. The summer I sat in a barber's chair and asked for something I shouldn't have wanted. This is a story about rebellion, awakening, and the razor's edge between who we're supposed to be and who we really are. I never wanted to spend the summer with Aunt Margaret. She and my mom were like night and day. Mom was easygoing, while Margaret ran her life like a military operation. Everything perfect, everything controlled. And she'd made it clear over the years that she thought my mom was way too lenient with my brother Dylan and me. But after Dad died, Mom needed to take a new job in Dallas, training all summer. So at 18, instead of enjoying my freedom, I was boarding a train to New Jersey with my 14-year-old brother, headed straight into Margaret's domain. The moment we stepped off that train, it began. "I hope you know how long I've been waiting," Aunt Margaret said, eyeing us like a drill sergeant inspecting troops. Her gaze landed on Dylan's blonde curls spilling from under his baseball cap. "And what on earth is this? We'll be going to the barber tomorrow." Dylan's face went pale. "I'm not cutting my hair." "You'll do exactly as I say, young man." I stayed silent. I knew better than to argue. But as we drove to her immaculate house, every hedge trimmed, every blade of grass identical, I felt the walls closing in. That night she laid down the rules. I'd be spending my days doing yard work. And the next morning, salon appointment, already made. My waist-length blonde hair, years of care, was about to be sacrificed to Aunt Margaret's vision of appropriate. I begged her, "Please, I'll wear it up, just don't cut it." She smiled that cold smile. "You'll appreciate something shorter, Jessica. It gets hot in the gardens. Something short will be much easier to maintain." I barely slept that night. The next morning felt like a funeral march. But we didn't go to a salon. We pulled up in front of Frank's Barbershop, a no-frills, masculine space with a row of waiting chairs and the smell of shaving cream in the air. "Why are we here?" I whispered, but Aunt Margaret was already pushing Dylan toward the entrance. Inside, a man sat in the chair getting what could only be described as a military buzz cut. The barber, maybe in his 50s, salt and pepper hair cropped close, worked methodically, clippers humming as hair rained down. When the cape came off, the customer was nearly bald, just shadow on his scalp. Dylan looked terrified. "Next," the barber called. Aunt Margaret pushed Dylan forward. "I don't want to deal with it all summer, Frank. Better shave him bald." My jaw dropped. Dylan looked like he might faint. I watched transfixed as the clippers carved paths through Dylan's beautiful curls. Blonde hair fell in waves to the floor. His scalp appeared, pale and vulnerable. And then, something strange happened inside me. A warmth, a flutter, something I absolutely should not have been feeling. I was watching my brother get his head shaved bald, and I was aroused. That's when Aunt Margaret's phone rang. "Oh no," she said. "That's too bad. Thanks for letting me know." She hung up, turned to me. "You're spared, Jessica. My stylist is sick." Relief flooded through me until Aunt Margaret called out, "Frank, you don't cut girls' hair, do you?" The barber looked at me, then smiled. "Not usually, but for you, Margaret, I'll make an exception." "But I'm a girl," I protested weakly. "Yes," Aunt Margaret said, not hiding her satisfaction. "You are." My legs felt like wood as I walked to that chair. Frank finished Dylan first, shaving cream, straight razor, leaving his head smooth and pink as a baby's. My brother looked ridiculous, humiliated. And that warmth between my legs grew stronger. "I guess you're next, young lady," Frank said, shaking out the cape. I sat down. Dylan stared at me from the waiting chairs, his bald head gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "Margaret," Frank asked, "how short?" "Can you do a pixie cut?" my aunt asked. "What's a pixie?" Frank asked, genuinely confused. They went back and forth while I sat there, heart pounding, that strange heat building. Frank leaned close to me, whispered so only I could hear. "Your brother looks so clean, yes." I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. The image of Dylan's shaved head filled my mind, the girls at school laughing at him, the humiliation. "And God help me," I nodded. "Like her brother?" Frank asked Margaret loudly. "Oh no, my sister would kill me." "Yes," I heard myself whisper, "like Dylan." Everything stopped. Margaret's mouth fell open. "Jessica, are you?" But Frank had already turned my chair toward the mirror, away from her. "Give her what she wants, Margaret." My aunt, stunned, just nodded. The clippers roared to life. I watched in the mirror as Frank made the first pass. My beautiful blonde hair, years of growth, fell away in thick ribbons. Another pass. More hair tumbling down the cape, piling around the chair like golden snow. The pressure between my legs was unbearable now. Swath after swath my scalp appeared. White, pale, I'd never seen it before. My ears stuck out, I looked. Different, changed. Exposed. When the buzzing stopped, Frank pumped warm shaving cream into his palm. "Just like your brother," he murmured. The razor touched my scalp, that first scrape, and I gasped. Under the cape, hidden, my fingers found their way to myself. Frank knew. He whispered between each stroke. "You'll need to come back, every few days. You'll sit in this chair. I know you won't disappoint me." When he finished, he took my hand and guided it to my head. Smooth, perfectly bald, naked. The sensation sent electricity through my entire body. Aunt Margaret paid, confused by my lack of tears. In the car, she tried to shame me. "You know you look ridiculous." "I'm well aware, Aunt Margaret." Dylan leaned his smooth head on my shoulder. "Thanks, sis. You didn't have to do that for me." I didn't tell him the truth, that it wasn't for him at all. As the summer wore on, Dylan's hair grew back, soft blonde fuzz gradually covering his scalp. Mine stayed bald. Aunt Margaret said our evenings were our own, so 3 times a week I'd slip out after dinner, walk to Frank's barbershop, let him lock the door behind me. Some might call it charity, what I gave that old barber. I thought of it differently. My body for his blade, my surrender for my freedom. It was better than submitting to Aunt Margaret. That summer, I learned something about myself, about control and giving it up, about the razor's edge between shame and desire. I lost my hair, but I found something else, something I'd been hiding my whole life. Have you ever discovered something about yourself that you couldn't admit to anyone? Something that changed everything? Leave a comment below. Share your story. And if this resonated with you, if you understand what it means to find yourself in the strangest places, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that explore the edges of who we really are. Sometimes losing everything is how we find ourselves.